The streets of Istanbul were alive that evening. The Bosphorus glistened under the fading sun, casting golden reflections on the water. If you liked the video, subscribe, comment. Elçin Sangu had just wrapped up a long day on set. With her auburn hair tucked neatly behind her ear and a cup of Turkish tea in hand, she decided to take a walk by the shoreline to clear her thoughts. At the same time, Barış Arduç, returning from a meeting with his agency, found himself strolling the very same path. He wasn't the type to notice strangers easily, but something about the girl standing near the railings caught his attention. Her presence was calm yet magnetic. For a moment, their eyes met. She smiled politely, and he nodded in return. Neither spoke, but there was a spark, a silent acknowledgement that fate had just written its first line. The following week, destiny played its part again. At a charity gala hosted in Beyoğlu, Elçin was invited by a close friend. She wasn't expecting anything beyond the usual chatter, but when she walked into the hall, she spotted him, Barış, across the room. He was tall, charismatic, and effortlessly charming. Their first meeting on the shore felt like a distant dream, but now it was real. Their eyes locked once again, and this time, neither looked away. Elçin's friend introduced them formally. Barış, this is Elçin. Elçin, this is Barış. I believe you two may already know each other? They both chuckled softly. Sort of, Barış replied, his smile warm. We met by the Bosphorus. And just like that, conversation flowed naturally. They found themselves in a quiet corner, away from the music and laughter. Talking to each other felt strangely easy, as if they had known each other for years. Elçin shared stories about her love for theater, how she could lose herself in characters. Barış spoke about his passion for cinema, his dreams of leaving a mark in Turkish entertainment. What started as a polite exchange turned into hours of laughter, stories, and shared silences. When the gala ended, neither wanted the night to be over. Maybe, Barış suggested, we could continue this conversation over coffee sometime? Elçin hesitated for a second, then nodded. I'd like that. Their first coffee date was at a small cafe tucked away in Sea Hangar. It wasn't grand or luxurious, but cozy and filled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Barış arrived early, nervous yet excited. When Elçin walked in, dressed simply but elegantly, he felt his heart skip a beat. They talked for hours again. From their childhood memories in Turkey to the struggles of being in the entertainment industry, they discovered how much they had in common. At one point, Barış leaned forward and said softly, you know, it feels like I've known you forever. Elçin smiled, her cheeks flushing. I was just about to say the same thing. As days turned into weeks, their meetings became frequent. Walks by the Bosphorus, secret dinners in quiet restaurants, and late-night phone calls that stretched until dawn became their routine. Neither of them rushed to define what was happening. But both knew, it wasn't just friendship. One evening, as they stood on Galata Bridge, watching fishermen cast their lines into the glowing water, Barış gently reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Maybe, he whispered, this is the start of something real. Elçin looked into his eyes, and for the first time, she felt her guarded heart begin to open. It was raining in Istanbul that night. The two had just finished dinner and were running through the streets, laughing as they tried to shield themselves from the rain. When they reached the shelter of an old stone archway, Barış looked at her, soaked hair, bright eyes, breathless laughter, and couldn't resist any longer. He leaned in and kissed her. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't planned. It was pure, heartfelt, and undeniable. Elçin closed her eyes and kissed him back, the rain falling harder around them, as if the city itself was celebrating their moment. But love is never without challenges. Both were public figures, constantly under the scrutiny of media and fans. Rumors began swirling, were they together? Was it just a publicity stunt? Elçin worried. She had worked hard to build her career on her own merit. Barış, however, was steady. Let them talk, he told her one evening as they sat in his apartment, away from the world's noise. We know what's real. That's all that matters. His words gave her strength. Their bond grew stronger against the odds. Months passed, and their relationship deepened. They supported each other through auditions, long shooting days, and sleepless nights. Barış admired Elçin's determination and kind heart. Elçin loved his sincerity and the way he could make her laugh even on the hardest days. They weren't just lovers, they were best friends. They found comfort in silence, joy in the smallest things, and strength in each other's presence. One evening, as they watched the sunset over the Bosphorus, Barış turned serious. "Elçin," he said softly, "I don't want this to be just a chapter in our lives. I want this to be the whole story." Tears welled up in her eyes. She had been cautious, afraid of being hurt. But looking at him, she realized, this was different. This was real. She held his hand tightly and whispered, "Then let's write it together." From that day forward, their love became unshakable. They faced challenges together, celebrated victories side by side, and created memories that would last a lifetime. The world might have seen them as just another celebrity couple, but for Barış and Elçin, it was much more. It was love. Pure, imperfect, and eternal. As the call to prayer echoed across Istanbul, they stood together on the balcony of their apartment, looking out at the city that had witnessed their journey. And in that moment, they knew, their story had only just begun. The autumn breeze in Istanbul carried with it the smell of roasted chestnuts and the faint notes of a street musician's violin. Elçin and Barış had just finished a long day. She had wrapped up a magazine shoot, while he had been rehearsing lines for his upcoming project. Instead of returning straight home, Barış suggested they take a walk through Ortaköy Square. The small streets were alive with laughter, the aroma of kumper filled the air, and the Bosphorus Bridge glowed with its evening lights. As they strolled hand in hand, Elçin leaned her head against his shoulder. "You know," she said softly, "sometimes it feels like all of this is a dream. Meeting you, us, everything." Barış tightened his grip on her hand and stopped walking. He turned to face her fully, his dark eyes holding hers. "This isn't a dream, Elçin. It's real. And it's ours." Her heart raced. For all her confidence in front of cameras, moments like this left her vulnerable. She wasn't used to such raw honesty, most men she'd known hid behind charm or pride. But Barış was different. They sat by the waterfront steps, their reflections shimmering in the water. Silence wrapped around them, but it was the kind of silence that spoke louder than words. Finally, Barış broke it. "I've been thinking about us. About where this is going. And Elçin. I can't imagine a future that doesn't have you in it." Elçin froze for a second, her eyes wide. His voice was steady, but she could see the nervous flicker in his expression. He wasn't just saying it casually. He meant it.